Hello. Today's presentation is entitled From A to B, a volleyball match from start to finish. Today's presentation is tailor-made for new volleyball officials and inexperienced volleyball officials, I would say from 0 to 3 years or 0 to 3 seasons. We're going to take you from the start to a finish of a volleyball match and the basics of what you're looking for and sort of how to officiate a match. We're giving you the bare bones and the basics. And remember, this is not to replace in-person training. You still have to train by officiating matches, but this should give you a blueprint of some of the things that you're looking for, and hopefully this will serve you well as a helpful guide in your officiating career. Here's today's agenda. We're going to talk about site and personnel. We're going to talk about the pre-match, before the start of a match, rallies, dead balls, between sets, and end of the match. Now, most of the material in this presentation is rule-based and is taken from a combination of all the rule sets: National Federation of High School, NCAA Women, and USA V or USA Volleyball. However, due to some of the great details in some rule books more than others, some of the material will be referenced from the National Federation of High School rule book. First, let's talk about site and personnel. Now, what do you mean by site and personnel? Well, officiating volleyball is just more than calling in, out, and touch between rallies. It is when you get to your game site, the gym, the venue, the convention center, the arena, wherever you're going to be officiating, there are things within the actual physical site that you need to make sure are in place. There are certain people that need to be in place before you can begin any volleyball match. And this will be common throughout any level of volleyball. So let's talk about some of our site and personnel duties. Here's my recommendation. When you enter the arena, the facility, the gym, the venue, the convention center, and you reach your particular court, start your check at the first referee stand. It will make observing the things that you need to observe so much easier, and you can work your way from that first referee stand all the way across to the scores table without necessarily having to go back to check for things. It will save you a huge amount of time. First, I want to ensure that my first referee stand is secure and padded. No match is to be played if the first referee stand is not secure and padded. Next, you want to check to see that the net is the correct height given the players in the match. If the players are all women, the net should be at 7 feet 4.35 inches. If it's all men, the net should be at 7 feet 11.69 inches. Younger players, maybe 12 and under, will observe having a lower net. See your appropriate rules set for the correct net height. But nevertheless, check your net height. You can do that while at the referee stand and as you're making your way across towards the scorers table. Next, while you're checking the net, ensure that your antennas are secure and are placed correctly. They should be in line with the sidelines, and they should be pointing straight up, not leaning at an angle, and they should be perpendicular to the net. Make sure that all court lines are visible. This includes the end lines, side lines, center line, attack line, serving line. Next, look up. Check any obstructions. Check to see how high your ceiling is. Will your ceiling become a factor in the match? Check for things such as banners or swinging lights, things of that nature. It is part of your responsibility to check this because these things could become an issue as you're playing the match, not only rules based but playable areas. As we're working our way across, eventually we should reach the scores table. Next, check to see that your game balls are legal and are set to the appropriate pressure. If you're in a single court facility, have multiple game balls. If game balls become flat, if they lose air pressure quickly, if they go behind bleachers, if they leave the facility, you want to be able to put another game ball in as quickly as possible. If applicable, and you have an electronic scoreboard and game clock, see that they properly function. Make sure at the scores table that we have score sheets, libero tracking sheets, lineup sheets, and writing utensils. I would encourage all officials to buy your own writing utensils and have that in your volleyball backpack or bag just in case it is needed. And if time permits before your pre-match conference, pre-game with your line judges and scoring officials. Next, you will hold the coin in the air and blow your whistle for the pre-game conference, which will feature the coin toss. Depending on the level and the rule set, you may have a pre-game conference with captains and head coaches. That's usually National Federation High School. Captains, usually that USAV, or team representatives, that usually is college, NCAA. Ensure that they greet one another. Referees, you greet the team personnel that comes to your pregame conference as well. Here are some things I would encourage to happen at the pregame conference. Solicit potential questions, comments, and inquiries from team personnel. They may have questions about new rules, new points of emphasis, an actual volleyball rule. They may have questions about playable area. Make that your first priority. Verify that the players are being legally equipped. Verify that they will show sportsmanship and respect throughout the duration of the contest. Go over the court ground rules, playable areas. And as you're seeing in the video, as this pregame conference is taking place, eventually the first referee will conduct the coin toss. And in all rule sets of volleyball, this coin toss is determined which team will serve or receive in the first set. Now, if you're in USA volleyball, serve and receive is followed by the choosing of the side for which a team may want to play. And for most rule sets, after this pregame conference is when the rosters are usually due. Now, let's discuss the pre-match. A pre-match is the list of activities and happenings that go on immediately following the pre-game conference and coin toss. The pre-match will begin with the serving team starting their warm-up if we're in National Federation High School. College and higher levels will eventually start their warm-ups based on the given rule set. Both teams will have an equal time of use of the entire court. During the pre-match, you have an opportunity to give the head coaches their lineup sheets if they do not already have them. This is an excellent time to pre-game with your line judges and scoring officials. You can also observe the warm-ups of both teams. Depending on the rule set, there is a particular time that lineups will be due before the warm-up period has ended. If there are any duties that you are unable to cover under the site and personnel section due to time constraints, the warm-ups are an excellent opportunity to get these duties and responsibilities performed. If you have not already done so, warm-ups are an excellent time for referees to speak with head coaches. And again, the rosters should have been due prior to the start of the warm-up period, and at some point during the warm-up period, given the rule sets, the lineups will become due. For line judges, after having a pre-game conference with your first referee, this is an excellent opportunity for you all to take time to warm up your eyes. This involves you taking your pre-game positions without your flags and watching the warm-ups from the positions that you will be located throughout the duration of the volleyball contest. What is the advantage of doing this, you say? Well, you get an opportunity to see the players warm up. You get to see the better passers, the better setters, the better hitters. You get the opportunity to see the volleyball contact, the net, the antenna, the playing court, the sidelines, the end lines. And this will warm up your eyes. The benefit of this is that you will not be unfamiliar with judging the speed of the volleyball for the given contest. The worst thing that can happen to you is for you to have to judge the speed of the volleyball for the first time during the very first rally of the match. Before the start of the match, let's take a look at some of the duties observed by our referees and line judges just prior to the first serve. We should note here that a lot of the duties and responsibilities by our first referee, our second referee, and the line judges, as well as our scoring officials, will overlap to the same duties and responsibilities that will happen between sets. The first referee will whistle and signal for the teams to greet one another. Once the starting 6 players are on the floor, the second referee will ensure that their lineup is indeed correct and that the 6 players on the floor are in the correct serving order. Once the lineup of the 6 starting players on the floor is confirmed to be correct, the second referee will inform the first referee of either the same captain for subsequent sets or a new captain if a captain changes between sets. Here's a side note for inexperienced and newer second referees. On lineup sheets, you will see C designated the main floor captain. If you see an A by any of the players, the A stands for alternative, and that is the other captain that will be on the floor if the main captain, labeled by C, ever leaves the floor. If applicable, after the lineup check to each team, the second referee will authorize the libero replacement. After both teams' lineups are completed, if a team wants a substitution at this point, which can happen, that substitution will be granted. The second referee will roll the game ball to the serving team. He or she will ensure that all officials at the scorer's table are ready. The second referee will proceed to the new receiving team's side, do one last scan of both teams' benches, communicate ready to the first referee, and the first referee will beckon for serve. My favorite number 2. Duties and responsibilities for pre-match and between sets. Our second referee will check the starting lineup. She will introduce the captain to the first referee. And she will authorize a libero replacement if the team wishes to have a libero replacement take place. She will do the same for the other team. Check the starting lineup. Introduce the captain to the first referee. And authorize the libero replacement. As the match goes on, if the captain is the same, there's also a mechanic that the second referee will let the first referee know that the captain is the same for sets in the future. She will roll the game ball to the serving team, and she will give the court back to the first referee, who will start the set. It should be stated that the procedures that we are about to outline also apply for the start of each set. Both line judges have a position that they must observe while the second referee is checking the lineups for each team. Both line judges are to remain 10 feet from the end line and sideline extended. The volleyball shall be held in your left hand against your hip. The flag should remain rolled up until the R2 tosses the ball to the server. Once the second referee tosses the ball to the server, you as the line judge will toss your ball to the ball shacker. Before the serve, your hips should face the first referee stand if you're line judge 2, or the R2 if you're line judge 1. You should stand in a ready position to advance down the sideline or end. Next, we will talk about rallies. Rallies should be considered live ball in volleyball. We will go into the basics of the responsibilities and duties of both referees during each rally.
Future SEC Orange matchup, as we're going to get a preview of a match that we'll be seeing many times in the future.
Tennessee breaking out the Summit Blue to make sure we're clear out here. Here we go. We're ready at Maples. Caroline Kerr, the freshman.
Please note that the following process should be repeated by the first referee before beginning each and every rally. The only rally that this will not occur, or the only time that this will not occur rather, is at the end of a set or end of a match. Otherwise, before the start of each rally, the first referee will scan the receiving team's alignment, will scan the receiving team's bench, the scorer's table, followed by the serving team's bench, serving team's alignment, ensure that the server is in position, and then he or she will beckon for serve. The beckon for serve process goes as follows. The first referee will extend their arm with it award the point or point signal, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. The first referee will blow their whistle, and after the whistle is complete, then the first referee will bring the arm across short of your hand, contacting the opposite shoulder.
Future SEC Orange matchup, as we're going to get a preview of a match that we'll be seeing many times in the future.
Tennessee breaking out the Summit Blue to make sure we're clear out here. Here we go. We're ready at Maples. Caroline Kerr, the freshman.
Again, similar to the first referee, the only time this process will not be observed by the second referee is at the end of a set or the end of the match. Otherwise, this process should be observed prior to the start of each and every rally. The second referee will scan both benches for potential libero replacements and substitutions, scan both benches for potential timeout on other requests made by head coaches, make eye contact with your first referee, a quick scan of the serving team's alignment, return your focus to the receiving team's alignment, and await the first referee to beckon for serve. After the rally has begun and it is in process, let's talk about some of the duties and responsibilities of each of our referees. These are the primary responsibilities for our first referee. Serving. Is the server's location legal? Is the contact legal? Are the server's feet legal upon contact? Is the serving team alignment legal? Is each contact legal by rule? Are any players in the net illegally? Are any players across the center line illegally? Are all block and blocking attempts legal? Is the ball in, out, touched, or still in play? For the second referee, notice that the second referee has no responsibilities toward the server whatsoever. Is it good for the second referee to be aware of the server? Yes. But the second referee's focus, once the first referee beckons for serve, is on the receiving team. So the second referee's responsibilities at the beginning of each rally starts with the receiving team's alignment being legal. If the first referee cannot see a contact during a rally, is the contact legal? Can the second referee assist? Net play, which is the primary responsibility of the second referee. Are any players in the net illegally? Are any players across the center line illegally? Are block and blocking attempts legal? If unseen by the first referee and line judges, is the ball in, out, touched, or still in play? The second referee must be ready to assist on those plays if the opportunity presents itself and the second referee is no longer needed to assume their responsibilities at the net. Once again, a quick review of the primary referee responsibilities. For the first referee, the serving process, the serving team alignment, contacts of the offensive team, contacts above the net, ball in, out, or touched. For the second referee, the receiving team alignment, contacts above the net, during the block, net play, net fouls, and centerline violations. Here are some items of note. The first referee can also call the receiving team's alignments net fouls, and centerline violations if necessary. The second referee can assist with illegal contacts and the ball status, in, out, or touch. We're not going to get into how that can happen in this presentation, as this presentation really is focusing just on the basics and your understanding of your responsibilities. But we do have other training presentations available to assist you in those matters. These are the volleyball signals used throughout every level of volleyball. We've taken these signals and the images of these signals from the National Federation of High School Rulebook. When a rally is ended, the following signals will be used. In this image, every signal is potentially used. All the signals in this particular image is an infraction of some sort by one of the two teams. With the remaining signals, the only two signals that are potentially used when ending a rally is signal 13, which is out of bounds or an antenna violation, and of course image 17, which is the point signal, or as you might hear often, awarding of the point. Here's a little rules nugget for you moving forward. If you are required to call a replay or a reserve, a replay or a reserve is not the end of a rally. That is a very important rule to understand, because end of rallies means that teams may now replace liberos, perform substitutions, call timeouts. If you have a replay, none of those things can happen by rule. So if a rally is ended by the first referee, these are when to use what signals. And notice that almost all processes of using all signals occur in three parts, with the exception of the net foul. You will have a whistle. After the whistle is complete, the point signal or awarding of the point, and the infraction. The exception obviously being the net foul, that you will indicate the number of player in the net. That is applicable for National Federation of High School and NCAA. And USA Volleyball, you will not indicate the number. You will extend an open hand towards the player that committed the net foul. Obviously, replay or reserve is not the end of a rally, but we included it in here just to show you the process when you are required to blow your whistle.
Setter who knows how to distribute the ball, how to get the most out of each hitter, and they are just absolutely dangerous.
If the first referee ends a rally, then this is the signal sequence that we will observe. The first referee will blow his or her whistle. After the whistle is complete, they will award the point and give the infraction signal. The second referee does not blow their whistle, in this case, as the rally has been ended by the first referee. But the second referee will also award the point in sync with the first referee and will mimic the infraction signal with the first referee. The only time that there is an exception to this is if a ball has been served in the net. If a ball has been served in the net, the second referee will not give the net serve infraction signal. The second referee will award the point, but they will not give the net serve infraction signal. If the second referee ends a rally, Their signal sequence is opposite of the first referee. Now the first referee blows a whistle, awards the point, gives the infraction signal. The second referee blows a whistle, actually gives the infraction signal first, and then awards the point. This slide demonstrates the signal sequence by the second referee ending a rally. The calls that the second referee has the capacity to make to end the rally are net fouls, an antenna violation out of bounds, a centerline violation, and one that we did not include on here is illegal alignment.
And Texas.
If the second referee ends a rally, then this is the signal sequence that we will observe. The second referee will blow his or her whistle, give the infraction signal, and then award the point. The first referee will simply award the point in sync with the second referee. We're going to talk about dead balls. Dead ball situations include libero replacements, substitutions, timeouts, requests by head coaches. The second referee is going to be a very busy official in dead ball periods. Let's look at some examples. Here are some of my habits as the first referee before the serve. As we freely hear, I am taking a look at the alignment of the receiving team, identifying my front row setter, her opposite, my libero, her opposite, and the positions of the rest of the players. Eventually, I will turn my attention to my second referee to ensure that he or she is ready. Now, as I turn my head, I do likewise with the serving team. My front row setter, her opposite, my libero, her opposite, and the rest of the players in their positioning. Once I have confirmed all this information mentally, I'm going to raise my arm, shoulder high, and prepare for serve. The video described habits as the first referee between rallies. Now, if you are a beginning official, inexperienced official, a lot of things about alignments, setters, and opposites may be seem foreign to you, and that's okay. When they become familiar to you, you will incorporate them in this process. This process eventually will help you get to that level. Between every rally, both referees should have a scan. The first referee will scan the receiving team's bench, the receiving team's alignment, the scorer's table, the serving team's bench, the serving team alignment, make contact with your R2. This takes a few seconds, a few moments. If you do so, you keep your mental process as sharp as to what's going on your playing court, and things that you may have lost in the previous rally, you now will regain as to who's on the floor and who's in what position once you become of that knowledge standard. Make it a habit to perform scans of your entire court between each and every rally. Prior to the serve, what are my habits as the second referee? Let's go over them. I'm scanning both benches for potential requests for timeouts. I'm also scanning both benches to see if coaches wish to have a discussion with me. I'm scanning both benches for possible administration of substitutions. I'm also scanning both benches for legal libero replacements. Once all these duties have been performed, I now turn my attention back to the court, and I'm taking a quick scan of both teams. I'm looking at their potential alignments. I am identifying my setters as front or back row players. I'm identifying my libero and her opposite. I am identifying the positions of the rest of the players, so I have knowledge just in case my first referee needs that knowledge during a rally. I now position myself so I can focus on the receiving team and their alignment while being able to see the ball be in contact for sure all of my periphery. Again, if alignments, player positions, and things like center and their opposites are foreign to you, and you're a newer referee or a referee with 0 to 3 years experience, that's quite all right. It takes time. But the main ingredient for second referees, just like we talked about with first referees, is that scans should become second nature to you between each and every rally, unless we are talking about an end of a set or an end of a match. For our second referee, you will always scan both benches. You want to be aware of potential libero replacements, substitutions, timeout requests, or other requests by head coaches. If applicable and timely, grant the proper request. Make eye contact with your first referee. Do a quick scan of the serving team so you will have knowledge just in case your first referee needs your assistance. You will return your focus to the receiving team alignment, and you should be on the receiving team's side. And you will wait for the first referee to beckon for serve. My favorite number 2, substitutions.
And wow, look at that hit by number 6, Alina Phillips, the freshman. Despite being just 15, 16 years old, she showcases a lot of power there coming from midcourt.
She certainly does. I mean, a couple great freshmen on both sides of the court here.
This is the process that we should always take when dealing with substitutions as a second referee. We should scan both benches for substitutions. This requires a quick look left and a quick look right. We blow our whistle and give the substitution signal. However, we only do this once the substitutes have entered the substitution zone. Do not blow your whistle prior to the substitutes entering the substitution zone. We give the authorization to enter signal. Basically, it's kind of like bowling a bowling ball, and just gently push our hand forward to let the sub know they may enter the contest. Make sure that our scorekeepers have the proper information, both our main scorekeeper and our assistant scorekeeper, aka libero tracker. We scan both benches again for either more subs or timeout request. And we give the court back to our first referee.
Caroline Kerr misses the mark. Second service error for Tennessee puts Texas in front, and sophomore Emma Hall.
Here are some things for newer officials and experienced officials to know about libero replacements. Remember, libero replacements are not substitutions, so teams have unlimited libero replacements. After a rally is ended, once again you scan both benches. Ensure that the libero replacement takes place in the libero replacement zone and not in the substitution zone. As you saw in the video, you saw players going in and out, which were libero replacements. Meanwhile, you saw the libero going to serve. When libero replacements take place, confer quickly with your scoring team if the libero is serving or if the libero is leaving the court. Given the rule set, liberos are eligible to serve. However, they are eligible to serve in only one position.
Just the scoreboard and then goes over the net, so that's going to be a point for Texas.
And Eric, had that ball come back on the Tennessee side of the net, that would have been legal for them to play, but because it hits the structure. And
in this video, you saw another libero replacement take place. The difference is that the libero is not serving in this particular situation. Again, the process is the same. Scan both benches, ensure that the libero replacements are taking place in the libero replacement zone. Pretty much, if you want to think of the libero replacements, think of the benches and where the benches are located. You know that the benches cannot be parallel with the substitution zone. Confer with the scorers. Once again, the libero is serving or leaving the court. If the libero leaves the court, the libero must stay off the court for one completed rally. Once that rally is over, the libero is eligible to return to the court. My favorite number 2, timeouts.
As on Dalton, they're stomping on the bleachers and they're causing a ruckus here at 11 in the morning.
A ruckus at 11 in the morning. I love it, Palmer. That'll force a timeout. And it's very important to watch what head coach Crystal Lee says to her girls here, as GAC really wants to avoid going down 2-0.
Certainly takes a knee. Just talking to the girls, has the clipboard in her hand.
14 bat to serve Ledesma, as she'll stand at the block. And Dalton just 5 points away, Palmer, from...
After a completed rally, we will first acknowledge the timeout request. We will give the timeout signal facing toward our first referee. We will use our end signal towards the team that is requesting the timeout. During the timeout, the second referee has roles and responsibilities. We're checking the score sheet for accuracy of the correct score. We're checking to see that we have the correct number of timeouts remaining in use. Checking to see that the number of substitutions used are correct. And checking to see where our liberos are in or out at the current time of the contest. Coming out of the timeout, we will confirm with our first referee the number of timeouts used by each team. If the team has used both timeouts, we will let the head coach know that they have used both timeouts. We'll scan both benches, possibly for substitutions. Have they not occurred yet? And if teams want to substitute. And finally, we will give our court back to the first referee. Even though we did not acknowledge this in the video or in the text of this slide, you may have noticed that our line judges were walking toward the first referee and having a conference with the first referee. Our line judges also have timeout positions. In NCAA and National Federation High School, their timeout positions are at the attack line on the first referee's side. In USA v volleyball, the line judges will walk down each other's in line to the midpoint area and stand during the timeout. Next, we're going to talk about roles and responsibilities for between sets. Now, if you've been paying attention in the presentation, a lot of these may be familiar to you because most of the responsibilities that our referees and line judges observe between sets occurred in our pre-match. At the end of the set, our line judges will retrieve the game balls from the ball shackers. They will report to their timeout positions. When the teams are at their respective benches, both line judges will walk down the attack line. They will place their flag and balls on the scorer's table. At the 1 minute mark, the line judges will retrieve their game balls and flags and return to their preset positions. This particular slide, the video, and the content should seem very familiar to you. If it is, you saw this earlier in the presentation prior to the start of the match. These duties also occur in each subsequent set. Again, the second referee will check the starting 6 players of each set, ensure they are in the correct serving order, inform the first referee of the same or new floor captains, grant rare replacements if applicable after the lineup check, ensure that all officials at the scorer's table are ready, assuming we have no substitution request. Proceed to the receiving team side, one last scan of both teams' benches, communicate ready to the first referee, and the first referee will beckon for serve. My favorite number 2. Duties and responsibilities for pre-match and between sets. Our second referee will check the starting lineup. She will introduce the captain to the first referee. And she will authorize a libero replacement if the team wishes to have a libero replacement take place. She will do the same for the other team. Check the starting lineup. Introduce the captain to the first referee. And authorize the libero replacement. As the match goes on, if the captain is the same, there's also a mechanic that the second referee will let the first referee know that the captain is the same for sets in the future. She will throw the game ball to the serving team, and she will give the court back to the first referee, who will start the set. It should be stated that the procedures that we are about to outline also apply for the start of each set. Both line judges have a position that they must observe while the second referee is checking the lineups for each team. Both line judges are to remain 10 feet from the end line and sideline extended. The volleyball shall be held in your left hand against your hip. The flag should remain rolled up until the R2 tosses the ball to the server. Once the second referee tosses the ball to the server, you as the line judge will toss your ball to the ball shacker. Before the serve, your hips should face the first referee stand if you're line judge 2, or the R2 if you're line judge 1. You should stand in a ready position to advance down the sideline or end. If there is a deciding set, the line judges will retrieve the game balls from the ball shackers. They report to their timeout positions. The second referee will hold a coin in the air and whistle for the team representatives or captains. The second referee will conduct a coin toss, similar to the coin toss conducted by the first referee during the pre-match. At the end of the coin toss, the second referee will indicate their serving team to the first referee and to the scorer's table. All duties afterwards are the very same duties that we observe between all other sets. So we have reached the end of the match. What do we do?
To close it out. Dug out by Simmons. Kell trying to keep themselves in this one. They can't do so. There's McIntosh. They're heading to the final. Wow. What a finish. What a finish.
Just tremendous.
After the last point of the match is awarded, the first referee will whistle and give the end of set signal, which is the 21st signal in the National Federation of High School chart. Arms down by the side, another whistle, and the first referee will bring the teams together as was done to start the match. The first referee and the line judge on his right, which is line judge 1, will walk together. The second referee and the second line judge 2, will also walk together. And all 4 referees will leave the playing court together to their designated location. Congratulations, you've made it through a volleyball match. Thank you for spending some time with us today. We hope this presentation of From A to B, a volleyball match from start to finish, was well worth your time and gave you some great insight and knowledge into the basics of a volleyball match from start to finish from an officiating perspective. Again, we don't want this particular training to be used as a substitution for in-person training and for actually officiating volleyball matches. We would like for you to be able to use this as a supplemental training to help you get started so that you're familiar of some of your roles and responsibilities as volleyball officials. Thank you again for spending some time with us today. Have a great day, a great week, a great month, a great year, a great season.